So Intertek is a company that you guys might not have heard of by name, but we test all kinds of things. I mean, from the jet fuel in Air Force One to McDonald's toys to lead paint content. Just to give you, there's probably several products in all of your homes that have been tested by Intertek proper and that we test. So we're in 100 different countries with 1,000 labs and have over 41,000 people. I myself am from the software services group. Like we said, we have every mobile handset, global coverage, and this kind of the stuff that we work on as far as connectivity, but just kind of giving you a high-level overview of the company. Some of the most common software challenges that we face today in any connected product or app or anything that you're taking market is a couple things. Performance and reliability. Does it work and do what it says it's going to do? Brand consistency. This is the type of thing where you could make a washing machine, the best washing machine in the world, but if the mobile app that runs that doesn't work well, then you could have a negative brand impression about the manufacturer of that washing machine, even though it's the best washing machine in the world. So brand consistency and protecting the brand is testing above and beyond any certification or standard criteria. Data and cybersecurity is a huge thing. We all read about the leaks that happen weekly, monthly, from all the auto manufacturers to leaks from Anthem, Blue Cross, I mean, you name it, security leaks and things that happen. User experience is important where you need to have everybody be able to work with your product, from the MIT graduate to the soccer mom. Be able to intuitively look at, use your UI, and actually be able to use the product and, behave in that type of operation. Interoperability is big now when we have all these products that are connecting in a sandbox. I mean, you have Z-Wave, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all these different connected things that are all working together in Opera. So you need to make sure that everything works together. And then obviously the different app stores and certifications that come out. So the case study that I wanted to actually talk about today is we had a major customer that runs one of the major connected home platforms. So this is everything from the connected home and thermostat module to all the different connected things in your house, from sensors to cameras to door locks, that all works. I think it's 183 peripheral devices that work with this connected home solution for a major player out there. So what they actually needed was meeting a release date, extending their QA team capacity, and not only an internal point of view. Sometimes when you're doing your own testing and development, it's like a teacher grading their own paper. Sometimes somebody from the outside can come up with and uncover something that your internal team didn't uncover. Just because internal teams tend to do something exactly how it's supposed to work and all the processes. So just having somebody externally come in can really help add value and maybe uncover things that you didn't notice or, potential vulnerability. So with these problems at hand, we created our dedicated Intertek Connected Home Lab. We also do this for iControl, which is a home security company that we have run a certification program for. They're the ones that ride under Verizon or Cox if you sign up for their security offering. So we have dedicated testers and engineers trained to validate all the smart connections. Extensive inventory of almost every router and thing in the market, for these access points to make sure it all works well together. New products and components can be installed and integrated in any combination. So they came to us with test plans, but we helped them make them sharper, better, found out test cases that they don't need or need to use, and we could eliminate to make the test more efficient and more proper. So obviously we acquired all the devices that are kind of on the right with the logos. Everybody makes connected home products. So we have these things in our lab, and then we do all kinds of testing on interoperability, compatibility, functionality, usability, and security. So we had the lab and connected it and all the panels, and it really lets you know you might make a door lock or a camera, but does it really work with the connected home platform that you're set to work with? And these are things that just because it's designed right and the software is written, that you need to really do your due diligence and make sure that it really works and does what you say it's going to do. So what are the kind of tests that we're doing? So for the connected home testing, we're doing, like I said, functionality, usability, compatibility, and interoperability. So protocol layer testing, the interaction between the devices and all the peripherals. These are all using different connection points, connectivity. We verify that it meets all the functional requirements. Again, does what it says it's going to do. Does it turn on the camera? Does it record? Does it, operate in all that with everything working together and all the different types of signals? Does it really do what it says it's going to do? Application layer testing, how it interacts with the native applications. compatibility testing across all the devices, ease of implementation and use. I mean, is it easy to set up and plug and play and get running? And, how intuitive is the interface? So we've done benchmarking, different things like that with related products to let people know how they work. Now, geofencing is a big thing. That's when you're 7 miles from home or 1 mile from home, you can put an automation script into play. So maybe you are 7 miles from home, you want your heat in your house to go to 70 degrees, and you want your garage door to open when you get to 1 mile, and to turn on your living room lights and start brewing a cup of coffee. So when you set this in the phones, you have to be able to work with, Android, iOS, Microsoft, BlackBerry, all the end users that the phones have, all the firmware versions back. You need to make sure that, you work with that on the location-based side. And when you do cross these thresholds, does it actually send all the automation into script? So some of that stuff is difficult to automate or difficult to do. So you really need to have a lab environment and do the testing to really make sure that it actually works. So we kind of broke down the product lifecycle into all these areas. Customers come to us at any point. For instance, the customer in the case study came to us in the development and integration into the QA testing kind of realm. But the earlier we get in, the better. From planning, the requirements and analysis and design, we can give you insight from best case security practices. Like that baby monitor that came out, they never prompted you to change your username and password. So most people just went with the generic. So people could use the generic username and generic password and yell and watch your baby at your home. So for instance, with some, that's not even necessarily security, but just a simple design and prompting a password and username to be reset and changed, can really add value and prevent a security breach or gap. So this is just a way that we feel it will work with any customer at any stage in this, but this is kind of where we break it down and try and add value in all these segments. What they actually got is we were able to ramp up and meet their internal testing needs. We gave them that valuable outside point of view. Like I said, a teacher grading their own paper. We uncover things that when you're in the rug fuzz levels that you don't see day to day. Test case refinement, these test cases, some of them are over 3,000 long. We helped scope them down to save them time and money, and we could also figure out what makes sense to automate, if they're Appium, Rubidium. We have guys that work and can pick and find segments that are this section or this 20% is good to automate, so you're not spinning your wheels, and help them make not only that release date, but future release dates and stuff for ISC West and things that are coming out in the future. Again, just to give you a little bit of a background on the type of customers we work with. I know due to NDA couldn't talk on this particular one, but these are just some of the major players that we work with and test with today. I mean, we are working with a lot of the big boys. We do a lot for Verizon and all these different customers, but the main thing that all these customers have is their brand to protect. And as people are taking things that weren't previously connected before connected, and they made good products, you really need to be able to make sure that the product does what it says it's going to do, and not just is the best washer or best dryer and things like that. You need to make sure that the connection point is good, that the end user experience is good, that the UI is intuitive, and that it does what it's supposed to do. So that's pretty much the main part of that, but obviously open up to any questions that we have here. Any questions?
Any questions? So I got one. How do you work with cable companies, and what makes them different than other smart home providers in terms of giving everybody the soup to nuts protection that they want for a secured home?
So it all starts at the router that's in the house. So we've done all kinds of testing on the best, benchmarking and performance of the actual router and those capabilities. And even some of the set-top boxes, like somebody like DirecTV is now making a cable box with Z-Wave, Bluetooth, Zigbee, all these connection points built into it and baked. Even though they're not all being utilized right away, they have all this connection and endpoints in them. So we, help, number one, make sure that they all work and do the certification on those products so that they could get to market and sell it in the U.S. But we're just, number one, making sure that they all work and prioritize right. I mean, does Wi-Fi have protocol layer ahead of Zigbee or Z-Wave, or does the right people work, in order or at the right level? Does that make any sense?
Makes lots of sense. Is there any other questions? I got one more. My second question has to do with you're driving home with your connected home and the device that you've audited, make sure everything works, and you run into an accident or there's some kind of traffic, and you said open the house in 7 minutes, now it's going to be another hour before you get home. How do you change the setting on that?
Most of them, this is obviously geofencing just by your location where it automatically pings, but all of these apps and interfaces have a override, so you could manually tap into that app, and that's part of the thing. You make sure you design backup and redundancies. So you want to make sure that you have an override to shut the thermostat off or shut the lights off. So you want to make sure that your design is built in, that if the geofencing is disabled or working or your phone gets shut off and misses the fence, that you have a way to manually go in and update that.
Thank you so much. Is there any other questions at this point? Well, let's have a big hand from Matt.